The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Pop in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Podcast coming to you March 26, 2024. Coming in fresh because I just had a nice little mile and a half walk before I came on here because I ate like crap this weekend, so I got to burn up all the sugar. My blood sugar went through the roof last night. Anyway, we got the man, Rob the Genius himself, Robert Bonnette on the show. Rob, what's up, buddy?
Oh, man, good to be back. Always a pleasure.
Yep, co-host of the Amount of podcast. We've been doing a lot of stuff with on the Wrestling Retro podcast, of course. Also the host of the Rob the Genius podcast as well. Man, we got a lot to talk about, man.
Oh yeah.
But before we get to the topics I had at hand that we were loading up in the last couple of days, I do want to address a tragedy that happened today, or this morning rather, in Baltimore. Now, you are located not too far from the area in Maryland.
Yeah.
The Francis Scott Key, named the bridge that collapsed this morning. A cargo boat ran into that. There's a lot of footage I'm seeing on the internet about that. We still have people missing. For what I saw, there wasn't any. I didn't see any cars that were directly hit. I saw cars passing in the seconds leading to the cargo hitting the bridge before it collapsed, but I didn't see anything crossing right at impact. But I could be wrong. But I mean, your thoughts on this tragedy? I mean, it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah, and so I live about a half hour from, well, actually, depending on traffic, 20 minutes to half hour from there, and it is like the main bridge on that side of the city. It's like the main thoroughfare, basically. And so this big cargo ship, it was a pretty big ship, and they lost power. They had some malfunction and stuff going on there.
Yeah, and you can see in the video too, like they lost power twice.
Yeah, and now they were fortunate. Fortunately, they were able to radio in Mayday, and they were able to clear like most of the traffic from. So that's why you didn't see a whole lot of like cars falling in the water.
And that's the good news. Yeah, that's the good news. I was hoping there's no traffic on there, or minimal to none cars on the bridge. Because it happened, 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning.
Yeah, about 3:30. So I mean, basically, you got people who were coming home from the graveyard shift, or what have you, or going in to relieve those people, that type of thing mainly. So thankfully there wasn't a lot of traffic there. Now they have fished some people out of the water. Like, I mean, they've rescued some people out of the water. But that's a pretty had that happened 5 hours later or 4 or 5 hours later.
Oh, that would have been a mess.
Oh yeah.
My God.
It would have been horrible. Just, I mean, it was bad now, but it'd been like, it'd been like historic natural disaster level kind of event, and so it was a pretty big cargo ship, and it hit the bridge right in like one of the main supports. So that's why the whole thing just fell. If you've seen the video, the whole thing just collapses.
Yeah,
and it got hit. Yeah, because it got hit. It didn't get hit just in part of like the trusses or whatever. It got hit right on the post. One of those posts, that the main post in the middle of the bridge. And so the whole thing just collapsed, and yeah, it's pretty bad. But thankfully it happened when it could have been worse.
Could have been a whole lot worse. Especially you're saying that a lot of heavy traffic goes through that area too, from city to city.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's obviously. Hopefully, there's no casualties. Hopefully, I don't know if anything has been confirmed yet. I'm praying to God there's no casualties, and it's just an accident that happened to not affect anyone in that situation. So, but yeah, that definitely a Woken's morning scene. I was like, and seeing video and seeing multiple angles, like, oh my god. Cause I always had a fear of that too. Also, not necessarily a boat hitting um, a bridge, but what if a bridge just collapsed randomly while you're on a bridge? You know, we got a bridges here in Florida too, especially even small ones, and a lot of boats here. You know, living in South Florida. I've always had that what if, like, something happened like that randomly. I mean, it's very random.
Oh yeah, and because back during the '80s, when I was in elementary school, during one of those really bad snowstorms, there was I forgot what flight number it was, but it was a plane that crashed into one of those kind of overpass kind of bridges in DC.
Mm.
It was it was a big story then. They even made like a TV movie about it.
Yeah.
Way back a long time ago, young people, they used to make these things called original TV movies.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So.
they did one based on that, and and then there was this, I forgot the guy's name, but there was this guy who became locally famous for just like jumping into the water, like the freezing water, and pulling people out. And yeah, I mean, so that yeah, I mean, it's you know, it can be a little scary sometimes because here in Maryland we have the Chesapeake Bay Bridge.
Right.
And brother, that is a scary. That thing is like 5 miles long, and yeah, that can be very scary driving across that thing. And
Right.
I don't know if they still do this or not, but at one point they actually had like a driver service. People would like they would drive your car across for you. You move over to the passenger side. They drive across the bridge for you because some people would just freeze up driving across the bridge.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, thoughts and prayers for everybody involved, and hopefully there are
Yes.
really no casualties. Well, obviously we're waiting for hear more reports come back. It's reportedly people missing, six cars missing, maybe 6 people missing. Some workers are missing to us. I saw. Um, um, I don't know, but we'll keep obviously updating on and reading the updates and stuff. All right. So this is kind of like a check-in, I guess, a check-in therapy session for you because we're going to talk about some of the things that you're close to in sports. First off, Washington Commanders offseason. You guys are number 2 pick in the draft.
Yes.
You guys got rid of Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Traded him to
Got
Seattle. I think it was it Seattle one too?
Yeah, and got a good return for him too. I think it was like a third round
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah.
And hey, that's I like Sam. Sam is talented,
Yeah,
but
you spoke you actually were pretty positive about him this year when we were on the podcast.
yeah, I mean he is talented. But I think he's somebody that in our situation where we're doing almost a near and total rebuild, and we're trying to get like the big franchise quarterback. He's not that. So if you're a team that's like kind of almost there, and you need somebody to fill in, or like he'd be great. He'd be a he'd be an upgrade over Daniel Jones. Like if y'all thought y'all had everything else, and then you could get him and put him in
Yeah.
swap him for Daniel Jones. I would do it.
He would at least throw the ball downfield consistently in the way Daniel Jones cannot.
Yeah. So that's the thing. He's a middle of the pack quarterback, and if your team is constructed where if you have if you have like a defense heavy team and you just need him to just be competent and make the throws you need him you need him to make during the course of the game or something like that. I mean, no, he's not limited physically. He can throw the ball everywhere. So
Duke the ball. Yeah, there's a point this year too. I think there was a point for a good chunk of the year where he was leading passing passing yards.
yeah, it's just he's not Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen.
To be fair, nobody is
Well,
Patrick
no,
Mahomes.
but I should say he's not, and then also from what we saw of him, he's not going to get there.
No.
And so if you've got a, 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 if you've got a young quarterbacks, like we know, he's not going to get there. You know that, you know, he'll be competent in the right situation. He can absolutely be your starting quarterback.
Absolutely.
But if you're looking to try and get, again, if you're hoping to get Patrick, the next Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or whatever, somebody of that caliber, if you're hoping for that,
Mm-hmm.
he ain't going to be. So
No, you're right. So you guys hired Dan Quinn as your head
yes,
coach. Feels a little underwhelming because Dan Quinn. I mean, look,
it
I
did.
mean,
It absolutely, yes, it did when they announced it. I was like, Dan Quinn, really? But he's been making the local rounds. He has definitely won a lot of people over since he got here. Um,
he has a good track record in Atlanta. I mean, he went to a Super Bowl. Then I know a lot of people can say they went to a Super Bowl. I just think there's a lot of stink from that 28-3, and
yeah,
then Atlanta's tails off dramatically. You know, and then I think also too. I think what a lot of it is, when you bring in a new ownership group, Dan Snyder's gone, Rick Rich is dead, of course. Dan Snyder's gone. You bring in, Magic Johnson. You bring in this new regime of ownership, and then you're thinking, okay, well, the hire is gonna be a little bit splashy, right? A splashier hire, especially when you give me the names that were actually available out there. And yeah, I mean, I got Bill Belichick out there. You got like a Pete Carroll could be available. I mean, a lot of these quality guys that's been really good in the league in the last couple of years. And then Dan Quinn is the name that comes down the pike. Like, what?
yeah, but you know
I
what?
understand why people will be a little let down by that.
I look at for one thing. I just forgot the guy's name. The guy in Detroit.
The guy now,
Yeah,
I'm Dan Campbell.
exactly. When he got hired, I mean, people were laughing.
Oh God,
Like
yeah, no
people thought
question.
he came off like a cartoon character almost, right? And people were like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
really? This is the guy?" And so that turned out great. And then also, so there's that number one, and also um, the video. I think, well, the team put out a video that was very smart. If you want to get somebody over with the fan base here in Washington, they put out a video of Quinn on the phone, and on the other end was Mr. Gibbs. So,
Aha, the man, Mr.
yes,
Gibbs,
and if
Joe Gibbs.
If Joe loves you, we love you. Okay,
Yeah.
and so and they had this video of them having a good conversation and all of that, and so yeah, hey, look, if Joe, Joe is the icon of Washington football. Okay,
Yep.
I mean, he so if Joe loves you, we love you. All right, and so yeah, I'm just cautiously optimistic. I mean, because look, I mean, we've hired the big name celebrity coaches. Okay, we hired Steve Spurrier. That was a disaster.
Oh God,
Um,
yeah, yeah, that was really bad.
we hired Mike.
I'm surprised they fell apart as fast as they did too.
Oh well, I mean, it was entertaining though. I'll put it that way. I mean, that guy. At least it was entertaining. Okay, Spurrier is his character, man.
Yeah.
And then because I just remember like the last interview he did, like the last press conference, he's like, "Well, we're 5-11, not too good."
Nothing good.
Yeah, not too good, not as bad as some other people, but not too good. and and within like a week or so, he was gone, and he quit from the golf course. um, but so when we tried that, we did when we tried Mike Shanahan. Um, the one I wish we had stuck with was Marty Schottenheimer because by the time that he was only for one season, by the time that season ended, we were really we'd really found our way. And I wish we had hung on to him.
Yeah.
But um, so we'll see ultimately. And yeah,
So you I mean you seem excited about the season next year.
because well, for one, Snyder's gone,
Of
and
course, that was
it,
a reason to celebrate.
it feels like these folks are serious about trying to put together a winning organization. They're not, some of the we have there are a lot of coaches and players here who would have been nice to hang on to,
Hmm.
but like Sam Howell. I mean, you could, but Sam Howell is they made the right decision and they got a good deal for him. So and they have the second pick. Hopefully, they'll make a good choice with the second pick.
Well, it's going to be quarterback, obviously. I think that's
yes.
the next question. That's the next question too. Look, I mean, I don't know how much you watch college ball, but this
A little bit.
is definitely a loaded quarterback class, potentially.
Yeah.
Which quarterbacks do you hope they get?
Well, I know we're not getting Caleb Williams. I know he's going first.
Yeah.
Out of the other guys, well, I don't want the Michigan kid because he. I mean,
I saw a report yesterday that there's some sources not obviously not. Look, this could be agents throwing people off because this shit's it's so always happens this way. But Jason McCarthy, from Michigan, could potentially be the number 2 pick.
Good God, I hope not. I mean, he, at least from what I saw, he looks like one of those try-hard college quarterbacks, and you can win the college. You can win the national championship with a try-hard guy at quarterback
with a loaded roster, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you have great defense and great receivers and all that, which Michigan is always stocked up with people at all those positions.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I just because look, I'm old enough to remember. I remember when Miami had Gino Torretta. He was one of those people.
Yeah, I remember Gino Torretta.
Yeah, and was it Ken Dorsey? Yeah, the one. Yeah,
Ken
when
Dorsey,
they had
another UM guy.
Yeah, I mean so they won with those. You can win in college with those guys. The guys who were just like, okay, throw it to the receiver and then he'll run 50 yards, right? I mean, but he done this that. Yeah, that McCarthy kid doesn't look like he is. That's what he looks like to me. So I hope not. And the other guy, look, and look, we've drafted so many quarterbacks here. Like man, you just don't know. I mean, look, since Gibbs retired the first time, we've drafted. Let me see. It was Heath Schuler.
Yeah, so Gibbs came back in 99, right? 2000.
He came back in 2005 or 2000.
That late? Wow, that late? Shoot.
Yeah, because he retired in 90. After 90, he retired in 90.
Right. Then, so Heath Schuler was Heath Schuler. There was Gus Frerotte. There was
they drafted Heath and Gus the same year.
Right.
Which is insane. Okay.
Patrick Ramsey, remember him?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, and so Heath wasn't any good. Patrick Ramsey, Spurrier got that poor boy killed.
Jason Campbell.
Jason Campbell was in a few years after that.
I thought he was solid after Jason Campbell. I thought he was a solid quarterback.
He wasn't great, and then Shanahan came in and Shanahan
couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, that too.
Do you understand the best quarterback I think I've seen on that team in 30-something years is Mark Rippon? And that's for 1 year.
Yeah,
in 91. He had that star line year when he went to went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl in 91.
Yeah. And I mean, in overall, he was a good quarterback overall.
Rippon,
but yeah,
he was.
But it's just he had that couple of years in Washington where everything lined up perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so we just in the first round we had Heath Schuler, Patrick Ramsey, Jason Campbell, Robert Griffin III, and the guy who unfortunately got killed in a car accident a few years ago, Haskins.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
So we've drafted 5 quarterbacks in the first round since 1994.
And all boo boo.
And
all boo boo.
Well, Schuler was bad. Schuler couldn't play. Schuler sucked.
Yeah,
we got Ramsey killed. Spurrier got Ramsey. Whatever promise Ramsey had, Spurrier sucked it out of him. Because that dude was like shell shocked after a while because Spurrier, and he always sends out 5 receivers, and then people were just starting to dial up all those blitzes and everything. He just had a big ass target on him, and so he got Patrick Ramsey killed. Jason Campbell was okay, but they never really committed.
He can stay healthy though. One thing else, he can stay healthy.
Yeah,
that's just what makes issues.
And then Griffin is one that really pisses me off, man, because Shanahan and Snyder, Shanahan didn't want him. Snyder wanted him anyway.
They fucked that up. The front of us fucked that up badly.
I just like when people talk about bad sports memories, that's like top 5 for me.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Well, the game where he got hurt because, man, I was at home, and
That's against Green Bay, right? I think was it against Green Bay, right?
it's Seattle, in Seattle.
Oh,
Well,
Seattle, right.
and so the field was, FedEx Field is always terrible, and then it was raining, and then he already had his knee was already injured, and
Yeah,
then later on, it was late in the game, like he couldn't even plant his feet to throw. Right, he was dropping back, and he was just throwing the ball, but he couldn't plant, so it
yeah.
was just going everywhere. And at that point, me and a lot of other people were just screaming like, "Take him out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do it today. Take him out of the game. Take him out of the game." And Shanahan didn't take him out of the game, and he blew his knee out. And then later on, then of course Shanahan afterwards, like, to this day, it's still like, well, I couldn't take him out because he's Robert Griffin the third, and he didn't want
Yeah.
to come out of the game. And my whole and of course Mike Shanahan. Now, any other time, Mike Shanahan is one of those people who loves to walk around and tell you that he's Mike fucking Shanahan, right?
Yeah.
And, but this one time, oh no, 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 I can't go against what the player wants to do. No, no, no. Okay, I mean, come on, and just like, okay, yeah, okay, sure, okay. I mean, and of course, look, if you didn't, and also, if you were that dude set against drafting him, then you could have quit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you were that dead set against it, then you quit
No,
and say, you know what,
he also had a quality backup. He had Kirk Cousins, to come in there and clean
yeah,
the
and
mess
oh
he had
man,
to.
Kirk Cousins is a prime example of getting cool points because of who you're not. Okay,
Right.
because like,
He's definitely made a lot of money though. Wow,
oh,
let's say that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But he got a lot of cool points because he wasn't Robert, and the local radio guys here hated Robert Griffin.
Right.
They hated him, and so Kirk was exactly, he was exactly what the doctor ordered for them, because he does the all shucks, and, "Oh, I'm just happy to be here," and
Right.
all that type of thing, and they bought that hook, line, and sinker around here, and it's just, yeah, and so that whole thing went south, and then of
Yeah.
course, Kirk didn't stay here either.
Right.
No, look, I don't regret that. Because Kirk can get you 4,000 yards season. He can get you 300-yard game. He can, and then on when it matters, on 3rd and 14, he throws 10-yard passes,
Right.
or he throws interceptions, and and for $100 million guaranteed or whatever, it's no, no thanks. So yeah, so we're through all of that now, and I'm cautiously optimistic that it will be, that.
You know what's sad though about you guys though about that franchise? It's easy to forget that the Washington Commanders / Redskins / football team has such a storied history of success. Like this team has won 3 Super Bowls,
Yeah,
and there was a good stretch for a good, um, um, between the 70s and 80s, even to the early 90s, that they were regulars in the, if not Super Bowl, they were always playoff contenders.
yeah, yeah,
It's easy to forget that. It's the same with the Raiders too in a lot of ways. The Bears, the Raiders, the Commanders, all story histories. All of a sudden, the last 20-ish years,
yeah,
have just been virtually irrelevant.
yeah. And
It's
so,
sad.
yeah, and doesn't take much. So enjoy it. If your team is riding high, take it in, enjoy it. Don't take it for
Oh,
granted.
believe me, I am. Even with my team that won, 2 Super Bowls against Tom Brady, you know, we're suffering now. I already said that, you know, we're paying the price for um things that we'd beating Brady and Belichick. We're paying the price for that now. In hindsight, paying the double. Did deal with the double back. 07 and 11. So now we stink for the last like decade plus. So, but it is what
Yeah.
it is, man. Your basketball team, the Knicks, though.
Yeah.
They're really good, man. They are really good. And I gotta tell you, as a guy who's an NBA diehard, you look at the Eastern Conference, like it's clearly Boston a bust. That's what it feels like to me. Obviously
Yeah.
Milwaukee's playing better now, but there's some things that I'm not really feeling about that team. I feel like, that number 2 spot in the East is much more open. People get credit for. And I think the Knicks are one of those teams that can at this point, everything I've seen the Knicks, as long as they're healthy, it would not shock me if that team is playing the conference finals. It would not shock me.
Yeah. And again, so I am again cautiously optimistic because we have had nothing to believe in for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
And so this team looks like it's legitimately one we can, the last couple of years have been so much better. Um, but yeah, we were in the wilderness for a long time. And because they went to the finals in '99 and like then it was just it was a long drought and then we had
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo for a couple of years, and that unfortunately didn't end the way anyone wanted it to.
Right.
Um, but now it looks like we're onto something here, and like James Dolan is as bad an owner as Snyder, and it's just so we're basically we're lucky.
You have a lot of bad owners for teams you like. Good Lord,
Oh
you've had some
man,
shit owners. I mean, talking like bottom of the barrel too owners that
yeah,
whoa.
Dolan was bottom of the barrel, Snyder was bottom of Snyder. Man, he was like he was he was using the team as like a personal ATM, and there was money unaccounted for and all types
Yeah,
of stuff. And
yeah.
um, and Dolan, yeah, Dolan is terrible. Um,
He does spend money though.
yeah,
Give him that.
well, so it's not. I mean, it's not, but it's just, yeah. So hopefully, you know, they went in spite of Dolan. So hopefully that'll keep going. You
Yeah.
know,
But do you
but
do
look,
you?
there's no place better than the Garden, no man.
Of
When the
course,
Garden is talking during the
that's
NBA
fun.
game, no place better. No place
It was
better.
fun. It was fun last year. I mean, especially the Heat fan, like watch that second round playoff series and having the game to the Garden. It was a lot of fun. As a basketball fan, a basketball diehard, a guy who still, we talk about wrestling retrospectives on podcasts. I also have a lot of love for retro basketball talk too, especially and you watch some of those old Nick games from way back when.
Oh yeah, man.
When the Knicks are good. I mean, the Knicks are good and relevant. It is so much fun to watch. Listen to the organs, especially to the organs, during the
Yeah.
playoffs. And I tell you, I've always had a little soft spot for the Knicks because of Patrick Ewing in those years when the Heat weren't that good, even though they're my team. Because I hate Jordan the Bulls growing up. So I root for the Knicks to win those series against Jordan and against Elijah in the finals, and against the Pacers too. I hate those teams. So I have a little soft spot for the Knicks to some degree. Part of the reason why I can't stand the Knicks now was because the way they treated Ewing on his way out.
Oh man.
So
Yeah.
I have a lot of disdain for that.
Because I was born in New York.
Right.
But
Likewise.
I grew up just outside DC. So for me, when I started seriously watching the NBA, I gravitated towards the Knicks because of Patrick, because he played for New York and he played at Georgetown, right?
Right.
Um, so for me, it was kind of and Georgetown basketball in the 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
like that was you had to be there,
Yeah. Georgetown in the 80s was they
especially.
and I'll be honest with you, it feels like as a basketball historian, like it feels a little bit of a letdown because they only won one title.
Yeah.
They should have
And
beaten Carolina in '82. Honestly,
yeah, I mean, because because
yeah,
did the shot, and then Fred
Jordan, of course. Yeah,
had to turn her up, and then in '85, Villanova played a perfect game, literally. Like, I mean, they shot like 90% from the floor or something ridiculous, right? I mean, they just played a perfect game,
yeah.
and but it was a time, man, when Patrick was there and Big John was coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because there were people. If the only thing you saw from Georgetown was a basketball team, there were people who thought Georgetown was like a HBCU because all they did was the basketball team, right?
I can see that too. I can definitely see that.
Right. It's funny. It
Yeah.
was funny, man, because if all you knew about was the basketball team, he had an all-black team, and it's funny. He didn't start out having all-black teams, but he got this Coach John got this reputation. So then, like, white players just didn't want to come there, right? Because they thought that he was gonna, be abusive towards them or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he had this all-black team, and then he recruited, like, he played like a lot of guys who were older. Like there were guys who were in their 20s who came there and came out of junior college or whatever. So it was an all black team. He had a lot of older guys. You had guys like Patrick Ewing and Dikembe, right? These big, imposing 7-footers. And then John is 6'10", and he's got this loud, like Darth Vader kind of voice himself.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and he was very outspoken, right? He spoke about everything. I mean, and so it was. I mean, that was the time, man. So that's so me becoming a Knicks fan was basically born out of me being born in New York and Patrick playing in New York and having played at Georgetown. But man, those years, the Riley years were great, man.
They're fun. A lot of
Yeah,
fun.
they were. They really were.
So,
Yeah.
so what is the ceiling of this team? You think? You believe? I mean, do you think the ceiling's higher in the conference finals? Is this a team that can beat Boston in the conference finals?
No, I think this year at least Boston is, unless something goes wrong. Boston's they're winning the East.
Because Boston has had a history of underwhelming, expectations.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, I guess they don't seem to have like that. Like they don't have that kind of Michael Jordan kind of player, but I mean, the way their team is assembled, they're assembled in a way that to win a lot of games and to be almost impossible to beat 4 times in a playoff series, right?
Well, I said when you started that the Celtics, like, to me, they're going to win 60+ games easy with ease, and they're there. They're on pace for that. But again, it comes down to the playoffs. It comes down to, okay, cool, you did what I thought you'd do, but now can you finish the job and win a title? And like I said, I think the thing is, the reason why it looks so much easier this year is that I look at the teams in each conference, the Miamis and the Milwaukees and New Yorks and Cleveland. Yeah, they're all fine and dandy, all good teams, but I mean, Boston did add to this roster. They added Porzingis. They added Drew Holiday, which I said from day one that if he went to Miami, especially Miami or Milwaukee or Boston, that actually cancels out the Damian Lillard trade because of what he can do on defense and limit Lillard, whatnot. And we're seeing that now, and it just feels like there's actually the natural gap between Boston and everybody else in the Eastern Conference. Like, to me, right now, as I sit here, Boston's only challenger really is the Denver Nuggets, who they can't beat this year.
Yeah. And so I think the East belongs to Boston this year.
Yeah.
And
hope I'm wrong though.
Yeah, and I think the league belongs to Denver until somebody beats Denver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, I think the conference finals definitely the ceiling. Obviously you got to get Randall back, you got to get OG back in time for the playoffs, and playoffs are around the corner. It's only 3 weeks away, so we're not that far away. So they got those guys healthy. At this point, I will almost say just keep them out at least till the last week of the year, if possible.
Oh yeah. There's no point to rush anybody back because they're doing fine right now. It's better to wait the extra couple of weeks and have them more healthy for the playoffs than to try to push them back and then they have to go back out again or whatever.
Exactly. All right, so this year, whatever you want to call it, it's the 30th anniversary of Wrestlemania 10. Now we did actually on my other podcast, the Wrestling podcast, which you can check out, guys, on any YouTube, any podcast platform, my YouTube page at Earnest Christian on YouTube. We did a watch along of one of the matches, the best match, obviously by far, on that card this past Saturday. Shawn Michaels against Razor Ramon, ladder match from I guess from Mania 10. I want to discuss Wrestlemania 10 in general because we were having that discussion on the podcast. And we were talking about how, but you and I both were not really at that time really watching the product really tooth and nail like the way we do now, or we did even then. That was definitely one of the dead periods for us. But I've always said that WrestleMania 10, especially in hindsight, as I look back at it, 30 years later, WrestleMania 10 to me, honestly, it's kind of underrated. We talk about the big cut matches. We talk about the two Brett matches, of course, against Owen and then against Yokozuna later in the night to win a title, and of course the classic ladder match between Shawn and Razor, arguably a top Mount Rushmore match in the history of WrestleMania. But I feel like that card actually as a whole, the entire event, it's kind of underrated as you move past it more years. Like you look at old WrestleManias, we have now 39, but we'll have 40 in 2 weeks. That WrestleMania to me is actually a little underrated. What do you think?
Because people focus on the Bret Owen match and then the ladder match, and like I don't think anything was egregiously bad on that show because there have been some WrestleManias with some matches that are just horrible, and so I don't think anything was particularly bad. The matches that could have been bad were short, um, and well, the main event was just kind of but cool, because it was pretty anticlimactic. Because I think that's one thing because everybody knew that whoever fought Yoko in the main event was going to beat him.
Right.
So it was definitely kind of anticlimactic there.
Wait,
But
so going to that match, cause look, I didn't watch. I don't remember the build up to that match and the build up to Mania 10. That was the thought that Yoko would lose the title. I mean, he won the title at Mania 9 against Brett. Okay,
yeah,
then loses to Hogan literally seconds later. That's controversial, finish. Of course, we can discuss down the road. And then he gets it back from Hogan at King of the Ring, which ended up being Hogan's last match for 9 years? 9 years after that in the company.
yeah.
And Yokozuna was built as this monster that was unbeatable. And but I don't remember the build if we started seeing chinks in the armor of Yokozuna and whether or not that was if they were going to carry him as the guy for another year or so. Like I wasn't sure if Brett was going to be minted at that point because Mania 9 should have been his minted. Should have been his. Well, I say that, but he was actually the champion after that match. I don't know. I don't remember the build to that match, but I remember it being a big deal that he beat Yokozuna.
Yeah. It's Bret had the unfortunate luck of being, you know, world champion at a time where just the business was down. I mean, I don't think you couldn't even pin it on him, really.
No. Also, I think too as well. I think Vince at the time, I don't think was fully convinced that Bret could carry the company because he tried the Lex Luger thing. He tried Lex Luger face, which he did at SummerSlam before that. And I don't know a lot of the backstage stuff and commentary leading up to that. I haven't really heard much of that. In hindsight, from obviously all these podcasts and stuff, they talk about all this, what was going through Vince's mind and booking and what was a consideration. I do know that Lex Luger was an option at one point, and I mean it was technically was a 4-man tournament. Owen and Brett, and then
basically.
Lex and Yoko, and the winner go against each other for the title, that kind of thing. But I do know that I do think that there was definitely some resistance to Brett being the guy because Vince being, who he is, still believed that I need my big guys as a champion. But Hogan's gone now. And Lex Luger kind of fit the bill that Hogan filled, but except he didn't have the personality that Hogan had, and I think there was still a lot of apprehension of Brett being the guy.
I think so, because Luger just wasn't Luger was definitely somebody that WCW got him right, and because he was way over in WCW. We loved him to death in WCW. He's not Captain. He was never supposed to be like Captain America, right? Which of course Hogan was that, and Cena, and whatnot. Luger was not Captain America. It was just never his deal. And so when they tried to make him into that, it didn't fit. It didn't work. And so so I guess they got cold feet with Luger. And Brett was he was the reliable soldier,
Yeah.
and so they gave him, like, it ended up being about 8 months, but then they tried Diesel, because Diesel was the big man, fit the big man mold. That
That was a
didn't
failure.
work.
That was a failure
Yeah,
too. One of the worst.
failed.
I'll say to this day, one of the worst title reigns in history of the company. I'm sorry. Sorry, Kevin Nash. I love you to death. I love your podcast, especially too. But as a fan of wrestling, I did not enjoy that title reign. And it means that ain't your fault. It's just the time and place, I guess.
Well, I didn't watch any of it as it happened, so
Me too.
I
Me
missed
too.
most of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't watch it live. I knew he was champion. I'll check in. So I say, hey, what's going on here? Okay, cool. I'm interested.
But like 1995 in general was just a bad year.
Ooh.
If you want to talk about bad years in pro, like, yeah, all of you folks that like to talk about 2018 or 2019 or 2011 or 2012 or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Okay, 1995 was a god awful year, and okay, because things were not going well in WWE, but then over in WCW, it was like you got the worst, all the bad parts of Hogan came out to the top
Yeah.
in 1995. I'm like, all his buddies being all over the card,
Still better.
and
Yep.
him not putting people over, just finding all types of convoluted ways for him to not be losing matches, and it was really bad. 1995 was a worse year than any year that any of you folks that have only been watching since the Attitude Era. 1995 was god awful. Okay. I would trade any year since, okay, I started watching full time again in 2012. Whichever year I would consider to be the worst year since I started watching full time again, I would take over 1995
Yeah.
easy.
I mean,
Okay.
the only thing I would say that bright spots of WWE and W95 was probably whatever Sean was doing, Brett, of course, Owen. I'll say
Yeah.
Bulldog to some degree, definitely what he was doing. But other than that, that was it, man, for me in W95. Taker, of course, but even Taker was kind of weirdly booked too with the whole like double, Taker thingy that
Yeah,
pushed over.
it was just it was bad.
Yeah.
So Brett, unfortunately, you know, he had to hold the fort down during some lean years. And then when things finally started rolling again, that's when he got the screw job happened. And he got basically kicked out of the company, basically.
Right. I do think 96 though is a good year actually. I've actually underrated year. I think you started seeing signs of life in 96. Like it wasn't obviously 97 to me is one of my favorite years of all time. But 96 I feel like was a nice transitional year, like a setup year. Like they go to Sean for the championship, obviously. Brett goes away for a little while, but you see Austin now who's starting to get a push.
Yeah.
Taker's and Mankind's feud was phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things on 96. You can grab on. I mean, I know they brought back Warrior, and Warrior had a little bit of a run, and you're hoping that maybe Warrior can get back that the run from 6 years before that, but didn't happen obviously. But I feel like 96 is actually a very decent year actually,
It was. I mean, hindsight, yes, it was.
especially the end of the 96 going to 97.
It's just that, well, the only thing is just because everything got overshadowed by the NWO. And
Oh, of
so,
course, yeah.
yeah, so
Of course, yeah.
whatever good things were happening in WWE, the NWO completely overshadowed it. So,
Yeah, it got my attention. It's damn sure.
oh yeah,
Because that's why I shifted to WCW for a while. Because after, and I mean a Warrior guy, after Warrior got fired again, and Sean's title reign was okay. It wasn't terrible. It was okay. I mean, the stuff with Vader was kind of okay, but you having good matches here and there. But the 96, the NWO stuff was just captivated wrestling. You can argue in a lot of ways, like Vince will obviously look at it as competition, but in a lot of ways, you can argue that the NWO saved Vince's his ass because it brought wrestling back to the forefront in a big way. Guys like you and me, who were a year or two before that, didn't even give a shit about wrestling as a whole at that point.
yeah.
So WCW in a lot of ways kind of sort of rejuvenate that, and then it gets on the competition at that point.
Yeah.
So, but WrestleMania 10, I think, is kind of an underrated card. And I think also, like I was saying on the pod we did over the weekend, that that Savage Crush match that gets shit on all the time. The match itself wasn't that bad. I thought the match itself was pretty decent. I thought the concept was stupid, but I thought the match itself, I thought they did what they could. And again, I remember you saying on the show that it was like kind of beneath Savage, and you're absolutely right about that. It was beneath him, but that was what they were doing at that time, and that's how they booked them. But
yeah,
I thought WrestleMania 10 was actually not a bad card overall.
Yeah, I think not bad sounds about the right way. Well, sounds about right.
Yeah, underrated, definitely. What else? I have no dog to get you out of here. Ronda Rousey has a new book coming out. I don't know if it's out yet, but a lot of controversy in that. She's very critical of Vince and critical of WWE and how she was being used. I mean, safe to say now with all this talk that her days are probably numbered. Or days are come back to WWE are probably, the door's probably shut at this point now. I mean, I say that, but then, historically speaking, now granted this is Vince McMahon, WWE, if there's business to be done, business will be made, and will be done. But I feel like this door is probably shut.
Probably, and I've said this on the Mindless Wrestling podcast a bunch of times. There are people like it's the cool thing now to like shit on her entire career there, but there were some things that worked really well, and as long as they stuck to those things, then things went great. But they got away from those things a lot of times, and then especially the second time around, and then also there were her second run, she had a lot of creative differences because and just she live stream. I think she's like a gamer, and she does live streams a lot of times. She's extremely candid. Like she doesn't she doesn't kayfabe anything, and then and Shayna backed up some of the stuff she said on some of her interviews that she's done. It's just basically she wanted to, when she came back, she wanted to do a thing with, she wanted to do a program with Shayna. She wanted to work with some of like the other mid card kind of girls, and they wanted her doing big matches with big name people at first. Like when Vince was in charge, that's what he wanted to do. Because remember, when she came back, they did the thing with her Charlotte. Then she was supposed to wrestle Sasha next, and then that's when Sasha and Naomi left. And so there were differences there, and like she really wanted to do the thing with Shayna, and they kept giving her the runaround. Like, okay, well, we got to do this first. We got to do this first. We got to do this first. And so she got kind of fed up with that. And then now, the reports are now that she basically she wanted to do the singles match with Becky at 39, and they vetoed it or said no to it or whatever. And that was kind of like the last straw. And see, Ronda's all over the map, really. So
I almost want to buy this book, to be honest with you. I'm actually fascinated by her. I'm fascinated by two things, actually. I'm fascinated by her run in WWE, obviously, but I'm also fascinated about her headspace. I mean, and we've heard things about her headspace after she lost her first match at UFC, back in 2015, and beyond that. I'm kind of interested to see where her headspace was at that point, and the way she looked at life. I was never really a huge fan of hers anyway, but I'm fascinated by the story.
And because now, like for better and worse, like when she's just like stream of consciousness when she starts talking, like so it can
Here's
go
a
just
question. Here's a question: Do you believe her, or is she exaggerating the truth?
Okay,
Like she's stretching the truth.
Okay, I don't think she's lying. I don't think she's making stuff up.
No,
but I mean, her recollection is because she's admitted to being concussed a bunch of times.
yeah,
Even back from like when she was doing UFC even. So when she talked, like she just I don't think she's lying. I don't think she's making anything up. I wouldn't necessarily trust her recollection of things to be exactly as as it's being told now. Um, so there's that. Um, and now I guess one thing that I have to give her credit for, people have always given her a bunch of crap for how she wasn't very good at doing promos, and like she has a speech impediment.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like a serious one, like because she didn't actually. Okay, so she didn't actually start talking until she was like 5 or 6 years old. Because
Oh wow, I did not know that.
yeah, it was like because I think and I could be. It was one of those, I think she had like the cord was wrapped around her throat when she was in utero, and her voice box was jacked up, and she had to go through years and years of speech therapy, and so she literally could not talk until she was like 5 or 6 years old, and so speaking is still a problem, and so like when we used her like on doing a talk show or something, she sounds fine, right? But like when she's doing a promo in front of 15,000 people with a live microphone, um, there are times where she just she forgets words, or she has to talk really slow to not mess things up, and then sometimes she forgets, and then she just starts going, with whatever. Um, and people give her a lot of crap for that, but and there have been some articles written about it, right? But people just kind of toss it to the wayside and just like, oh, she stinks.
Yeah,
And I mean,
wrestling fans are also brutal too, man. You've seen it on the internet all the time. They're just brutal.
yeah,
The IWC internet wrestling community is
eh,
really, really brutal.
particularly if you're somebody that they don't like, and
Yeah, they'll
and
double down on that shit. Yeah,
and she is somebody they don't like. Um, Even though look, I have said it before, I'll say it again. Um, Her signing with the company is the origin for all of this progress that's happened in the women's division for the last 9 years.
yeah. Give her
The
credit.
starting point was her signing with the company because they thought they could they
Invest in
Vince.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, they thought that okay, she drew all this money in UFC. She's a wrestling fan. She wants to be a wrestler. We can make we can make some money with her, and that was the whole point.
yeah.
That
No,
was the whole point. That was the whole point, guys.
like it or
Um,
not.
and that was so if 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 she doesn't sign with the company, you don't get women's main event at WrestleMania. You don't get the Evolution pay per view. You don't get women main event pay per views. Period. All
Hmm.
right. Um, at best, you might. It would have been now. It would have been better than the way the Divas division were going. Yes, because you had some better women wrestlers coming in. Yes,
Right.
and they would have gotten. Yes, they would have gotten to have some longer matches. They would have gotten to maybe main event. Raw or SmackDown, and maybe they would have gotten a pay per view main event on like one of the B or C level pay per views. Maybe. Okay,
Hmm.
and that's about as far as it was going to go, just on its on their own merit, right? Um, Bringing in Ronda, and because Ronda is such a big star, and Ronda is to this day the most well known woman who has wrestled in that company,
Yeah,
and to this day, um,
and the number. I know you wrote this down too. Also, I remember when she came back about a year or two ago, and a lot of people were talking about how like, oh God, Ronda's back. Yeah, you say that, but I look at the numbers. We look at the numbers on YouTube, and numbers to the
yeah,
roof. She generates numbers. So
yeah,
you say it's one thing, but the money says something else, and the money's always going to be the first thing you lean on.
yeah, and now things did start going south like the last 6 months or so.
Right, right.
And one a lot of that because again, like I said, they got away from what works. What worked with her?
And booking was horrible too. The booking was horrible.
Well, what worked with her was basically, look, people wanted to see her. They wanted to hear the music. They wanted to see her come out there, and they wanted her to beat up the bad guys, basically, or beat up the security guards. Right, when they stuck with that, when they had her feuding with somebody who was a heel, and she beat them up, and she beat up, security guards or whatever, that stuff always went through the roof. Whether it was Stephanie McMahon or Alexa Bliss, or when her and Charlotte did the thing when she came back, right? All of those things did like huge numbers, right? When she did the thing with Nikki Bella going to Evolution, same thing. Whenever they got away from that and tried to kind of turn her heel and make her act more like a heel, that's when everything went south because nobody really wanted to look. I mean, the evidence is that nobody really wanted to see that.
Right.
Even though, I mean, people in the IWC were constantly screaming, well, they need to turn her heel. I mean, like the larger audience did not really care for that. They didn't. And
I'll admit, I was one of those that preferred her heel. That was me.
I mean, well, my thing, well, I would have said for me, once I saw that it just didn't deliver, then like once I saw that it was pretty evident what people wanted to see from her, what they didn't. I got off of that train, and and um and then but and even like even though the second run ended so badly, during the second run,
Mhm.
okay, Shayna got a SummerSlam match,
Yeah.
a big pay-per-view match, and she went over. Okay, Shayna hadn't had a big singles pay-per-view match in years.
Although I'll tell you, you're never convinced me that Shayna Baszler is a baby face. That would not work for me.
No, no,
That's not work for me.
but look, I mean, Ronda basically got her a big match on a big pay-per-view, on a big 4 pay-per-view, and she went over. Okay. That doesn't happen without Ronda there.
Absolutely.
They got the women's that run that they had when they were, when they were the women's tag team titles. They got for that what month or month and a half or whatever. They were seriously invested in showing the women's tag team stuff on TV a whole lot,
Mhm.
which we know it's very sporadic. Sometimes they do it for a few weeks and then they don't. But they committed pretty heavily, for that month or month and a half. So even up until the very end, when she was there, her presence got more people on TV. Her presence got people more TV time. Um, so whatever weird, wacky stuff she says, I mean, and whatever you think about some of her opinions about other things, um, you have to, if you're going to be honest about it, if you're a fan of women's wrestling, she was 100% a positive. She was a net positive, and she is the main reason that a lot of this stuff just going on. Again, she is the main reason that so much stuff moved in a positive direction over the last 9 years.
I agree with you
So
100% on that. I do agree with you on that.
whatever you think about her, if you're going to be honest about this, you can't deny that.
Right. Speaking of women in wrestling, especially Mercedes Moné, debuted AEW about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Could she make an impact? And what kind of impact could she have on the company?
I think so. And now what helps is that she got there at exactly the right time because they actually the talent in the division is better now. Now Tony Storm, of course, is doing great. The whole character she's doing, and she's a good wrestler too. John Promo's there now.
Mhm.
Mariah May, who's Tony's like assistant, she's good. Willow Nightingale's good, and then they still have then you still have some people like Sheeta, and then Jamie Hayter's. She'll be back, I guess, eventually. And Statlander is good. Britt will be back soon. So now, like, they actually have like the division just from a talent and kind of star standpoint is a lot better than it was even just a year ago. Thunder Rosa was back. So this is a perfect environment for her to come back to, or for her to come to. If this had been like early on where she would have literally been like the only person worth a damn there, then I wouldn't be particularly optimistic. But this is a good division for her to come to now, and it all just depends on how they book it. I think so far the first couple of weeks I'd say are encouraging because like they got multiple storylines going at the same time. They got because now they got the thing with Tony and Deanna over the women's title, but now Mercedes has kind of inserted herself into the stuff going on with Willow and Julia Hart and all that, right? So they got multiple plot lines going here. Um, they got more talent. They got better talent in the division now, and they're going to be working, with Stardom more. And so the environment is there. It's just the biggest, it's just they got to, they have to continue to continue to present it as important.
So you're telling me AW is fun to watch now?
It's look. I'm not okay. So it's funny because on our podcast, Mindless Wrestling Podcast, when we started, right? Me and DJ were full-fledged AEW haters.
Oh God, yeah. I used to make fun of you guys about it all the time because like,
then
dude,
Jason,
what the hell?
And then Jason was like, "The guys, it's not that bad. Guys, it's pretty good. Guys, there's some good stuff here, right?" And now, like, so Jason has gone over to the hater side with DJ, and now I'm the one like, "Hey guys, there's some good stuff going on here. Come on now, right?" I mean, because I love Samoa Joe, so this whole run that he's been on,
You like it? The run?
Oh man, look, yeah, yes, man, I love Samoa Joe, man. Samoa Joe has become one of my and I didn't see any of him when he was TNA because I wasn't watching TNA,
Right.
but Samoa Joe has become one of my favorite wrestlers. Period. Um, and the stuff they're doing with the women's division has gotten a lot better. Like the whole Tony Storm thing is excellent.
I need to check in. I may have to tune in Diamond tomorrow night.
Okay, because all the stuff Tony Storm has been doing it's been just hilarious, and because she's like this delusional kind of she's playing like this delusional kind of I forgot what the woman's name from Mommy Dearest the character but yeah she's playing this kind of like this delusional kind of old Hollywood kind of actress type
Wait,
of persona.
so wait, are you saying they're starting to really pick up the sports entertainment stuff a little bit now with this? This will draw because this will draw me back in because again, we're not saying that AEW's talent pool is shit. Could we argue it's on level with WWE in terms of talent pool? What I need as a wrestling fan is I need more sports entertainment because look, it's like this. Like I get that you have a lot of guys who can put on great 5-star matches and flippy dippy, all this stuff they call it, and all that stuff. That's fine with me. What holds my attention is storytelling at the end of the day. And I wasn't getting that in the last couple of years in AEW. And because of that, I lost interest. And that's why I straight up I haven't watched an AEW event in probably almost a year. Honestly, I keep up what's going on because I check in just to see who's champion, what storylines going here. But WWE is what WWE keeps me entertained because of the sports entertainment element of it, and AEW does not do that. And now, to AEW's credit, they said they were an alternative. They never promised that there was sports entertainment. But again, if you want to expand your audience more than 800,000 people a week on Dynamite, you need to dive in those waters, and they don't do that, and that's why they've quote unquote lost me in some ways because I don't have the brain space to watch all this stuff at the same time. So if you're not giving me something that's worth grabbing onto, I'm gonna find something else to watch.
Yeah, because all right, because the whole Tony Storm stuff is excellent. It is sports entertainment at its finest. And
Okay,
I have to even go back to I forgot when exactly it started. Like it started like late last year, but yeah, it was. I mean, it's worth going back and just looking at all of that. The Samoa Joe stuff has been really good. And Joe can talk you into watching anything that he does.
Yeah,
there's.
I did see the little bit of the Jericho hook match last week. A lot of stiff stuff.
Yeah,
Don't look good.
No, it's yeah. Now see, the problem is that they have a couple of things that are still kind of I would call sinkholes. If you don't like the Young Bucks, then yeah, it's just it's and they're a bit of a drag, unless you just personally like them, they are a major drag. Jericho's kind of gotten that way now too.
Yeah.
But
Jericho was doing great. Jericho did great when he first started there because, again, storytelling. He was telling great stories.
yeah, and but now Ospreay looks promising. He's had a couple of promo segments the last couple of weeks that have been surprisingly good. He was not somebody that was known as a promo guy. So look, they have a lot of good pieces. Swerve has become a big deal there over the past year. And that's been interesting to see him, just his whole ascension.
Mhm.
But there's still things they do that they'll have you scratching your head like, what the hell are y'all doing?
Right.
But that's the case everywhere, right?
I miss how I felt when I watched in 2019, 2020. I missed a little bit of like I look for it every Wednesday, like it was like appointment television. I watch live, or if I didn't watch live, I immediately the next morning watch the show during next morning on demand. And I missed that feeling when AEW brought me back to wrestling. Like I missed that feeling. I don't have that anymore. Hopefully, what they're doing now does that. We'll see.
Yeah, and also, I think they earned a lot of cool points they gave Sting the proper send off. That meant, to old NWA/WCW folks like me, that meant a lot.
Mhm.
So like they have people there. They have some good things going on. They also have some, but again, like it's just the things that are not so good will make you just want to change the channel, like the Young Bucks, and you know, I mean,
So you're still a Young Bucks hater. Okay, cool.
always those guys. Those guys
They
are
put on great matches, though. I will say that, but I can see why. I can see why
um
people don't like them.
great matches.
Well, I haven't seen them recently. Like maybe the quality has gotten shit, but
Well,
I
okay,
saw them live one time, and I thought it was phenomenal matches. But
well, let me just okay. If you're into the stuff they do, yes. But what happened to me, like the first time I saw them in a match, like one of them took a tombstone pile driver and kicked out at 2, and he was back on his feet like in 30 seconds. I just, okay, I can't do this.
see shit like that, I can't stand.
I can't. It's like, I can't do this. And then, I've seen them take a doomsday device and just, roll through it and land on their feet, and it's like, okay, no, just no. And and they don't sell anything, and I just, sorry guys, you're not the Road Warriors, okay? Some people can do the no selling gimmick, and it makes sense and it works. You guys are like 150 pounds soaking wet, and no, okay, and just I don't know, I just kind of don't like the kind of personalities. Just
They don't tell great stories either. In the
no, and
ring,
their whole thing is
it's all
kind of like,
sporadic. It's all chaos. It's all based on chaos.
and,
That's it.
and it's so much inside baseball, and it's so much like almost like they're doing a send up of what wrestling is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Um, because and it's not supposed to, look, I'm of the mentality is when you're when you're whatever you do on camera, whatever you do on the wrestling show, you're supposed to act like it's real, right? Even if you're doing something like really silly, like even the R-Truth stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's silly or whatever, but he's not out here like, hey guys, this is fake, right? He's, it's silly comedy stuff, but when he's out there, he's acting it out. He's portraying it like it's real, right? And to them, for them, it's just there's too much.
Yeah.
Just kind of there's too much wink, wink. There's too much. Hey guys, this isn't real. Okay, you know. And I just if I wanted that, I don't. No, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
don't want that. I'm sorry.
No, I'm with you. Anything else? I guess that's it for us. Yeah. You just want to plug away because you're gonna be on the show again next week with
Yes,
me,
so
myself, and Duke Bennett, crazy
and
ass Duke. I'm
that's
gonna start calling him.
but
That's the new name. His new name is gonna be on this show. We're gonna call him Crazy Ass Duke.
it's
My crazy ass cousin Duke.
and because oh, that's gonna be fun though. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, plug on the plug. Your
Oh yeah,
shows, any articles. Are you still blogging? I tried to look up your blog the other day. Is it still up?
yeah, and I don't. I mean, I don't write as frequently as I used to, but it's still there. I still do some things. I'm still. I started a project a couple of years ago, keeping kind of monitoring how much women's wrestling they're putting on TV because
Mm-hmm.
basically there were a couple of weeks where it just looked egregiously bad, like how much
Mm-hmm.
time they were getting. So just me being a mathematician, it just caused me to just think, okay, well, let's see how much they actually do regularly. And so I'm still keeping track of that.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Um, and I did start a Patreon thing because like there's some bigger things I put together that it's too much work to just kind of give away. so um so I'm
I'm
starting doing
so I'm
that.
trying. So I'm trying to like not to cut you off quick, but like I'm trying to because one of the things I admire about you is that you've really done a good job of putting yourself out there. In this space where as a podcaster, on multiple shows, you come on this show, and you still one of the things I've struggled with. And it's funny. I've been doing this shit for a long time. I love writing, but I feel like I don't have the brain space or the time to put into writing. And I found the blog here now. I'm noticing you still write at least every couple of weeks. I should be able to do that, and I don't blog enough as I want to. Like, and not just only wrestling or sports talk, but even like just like personal things or whatever that's on my mind. And I admire that. I wish I had more motivation to write more. Like I wrote one blog back in January before the Super Bowl, and I was saying, okay, good, this is good. I'm gonna start doing this more often. And then all of a sudden, I haven't done anything since. It's been 2 months.
Well, because so I used to do a lot more, and then what I do now I wait. Just something needs to speak to me,
Yeah.
and in such a way that I can write about it, and that I can feel like I'm saying something that isn't already being said. And look, I have a million. Look, my draft folder is like 3 times as large as what you
Mm.
as the stuff I have on the site because there are a million things that I wrote, started, and got halfway through. I was like, you know what? Well, because I mean, because sometimes I have an idea to start with, and then as I get going, it's kind of like, okay, you know what? You had a little idea to start with, but you don't really have this any big, long, thought out opinion on this stuff after all. And so, and since I'm not in the business of, I'm not a traffic farmer. I don't do this for a living, right? So,
Do for,
you
just for,
know,
just for fun. It's
right.
therapy.
So,
Fun.
and because I mean, I don't see how I could not work at one of those outlets where you just have to do stuff every day and you have to put stuff out every day and you have to
And
get traffic
aggregates
every
too.
day.
It's so annoying. I couldn't do that.
I
I
can't
remember doing it for a little while, trying that practice for a little while. It burned my brain to hell.
because
Couldn't
like
do
I
it.
don't see how people write just weekly reviews for Raw or SmackDown. Like, how do you do that? And then but I see how people get negative because it's easier just to be critical.
Yeah.
If you got to write something every week about this 3-hour show, and you got to have it up by early Tuesday morning, and you got to do it every week. It is it is definitely easier just to be critical. Um, it is, and then also, if you're doing it every week, I mean, you have to watch the whole thing every week,
Yeah.
which you
You
know,
don't. I don't think you do that. You watch more than I do right now.
yeah. I mean, I turn it on at 8, and then I try to I get the most important parts, but then in between the important parts, if it ain't hitting, man, I always put people don't struggle watch. If you find yourself forcing yourself to keep
Yeah.
watching
Get
it,
out.
then
That's what
go.
I did. That's what Rob. That's what I did, and that's what AEW came for me. I was struggle watching AEW, and in a lot of ways, and WWE to some degree also too. Like every week, I'm like, I got. And the thing is, this is not a seasonal show. This is on we learn through COVID. This does not end. This is every week.
It's every week.
Take breaks, man. Use YouTube as a way to stay in touch with what's going on.
Yeah,
in shorter bursts,
Yeah, and it's very simple. Yeah, it's yeah, it's just I mean, and so just I say don't. I mean, if you have a group of favorite wrestlers, if none of them are on that week, skip it.
Skip it.
If just some stuff is happening and you're just like,
yeah,
change the channel, turn on PlayStation.
That's what I did. I do a lot of daily shows too. Also, especially I used to watch on YouTube. Like if I'm into this episode, not feeling it today, I'll watch it tomorrow or Thursday.
Yeah, and like because sometimes I watch some of Dan Le Batard, I watch some of Pat McAfee.
Same here too. Same here.
And when they if they start getting on some stuff that just I'm just like, man, this stinks.
Yeah, I've learned to not do that.
Yeah, okay. Well, this particular thing they're doing right now ain't really doing it for me. So
cut your
I'll go do something else. Yeah, I mean that's the best thing to do, man. It just if whatever stuff you're into, whether it's wrestling or sports or I read comic books. Same thing. When I first became a serious comic book reader, I tried to read everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happens. You end up, forcing yourself, and you end up struggle reading, right? And then so you learn over time. It's like, okay, well, I don't actually like this that much, so I'm just not going to bother with it. And and so you learn how to kind of prune your reading list so that you're reading stuff that you actually like to read.
Exactly.
So just that's my advice. Just whatever it is you do, whatever it is you're into for entertainment, just don't try to, don't struggle watch or struggle read or struggle listen or struggle play. Don't.
There's a lot of options there. A lot of other options out there.
Yeah.
So I can say. All right. So plug away the podcast, plug away the blog, all that stuff.
Okay. Mindless Wrestling Podcast every week. Me, DJ, and Jason. Every couple of weeks, you can hear me on my own thing, the Robert Genius Podcast. And my blog is robsagenius.com.
Yep.
And you can find me on Twitter at RBONNE1. That's why I'm on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say something stupid, I will call you an idiot. Don't.
You do.
I because look, I know some people like to quote tweet and screenshot people. No, I'll just call you an idiot, and I would just reply to you, and I'll just call you stupid, and then if you don't like it, the block button is right there. I mean, you're doing me a favor if I think you're an idiot and you block me, you're doing me a favor. So go ahead.
If not you, then me.
Well, see that. Well, I stopped doing. Well, sometimes I block them too, but then, I'd rather them block me because then I can't see anything they say.
Yeah.
If you block them, sometimes stuff gets through. I mean, so yeah,
something gets filtered through. I feel you, man. Anyway, we will see you next week on the podcast. Yes. We do a WrestleMania 40 preview with my crazy ass cousin Duke.
Comrade Bennett.
Yes. Comrade Bennett. Good job, man.
All right.